How are you? I'm here to present myself today. My name is Claudia Olivas. I have been a registered nurse for almost 34 years. I live in El Paso, Texas, and I wanted to talk about myself. I just created a webpage with my book. I have a book that is called A Look into Heaven, or Una Mirada al Cielo, because my book is in Spanish. So I am gonna try to do some videos and some podcasts so I could read my book to you guys in English. Unfortunately, it hasn't been translated, and it's really difficult to translate it just because it has a lot of emotions that you can not translate quite right. I don't know if I explain myself, but I wanted to tell you guys about my life, what had happened to me, and why did I decided to make this book. So first of all, like I said, I'm a registered nurse. I was born in Chihuahua, Mexico, and at the age of 19 years, I had a surgery done, which is a typical procedure that they do in a lot of small kids. I have my tonsils removed and my adenoids. 7 days after the surgery, I had a bleed. I went to the doctor. They saw me and they said, it's gonna be fine. They gave me vitamin K and sent me home. At this time in my life, I was studying in nursing school. Like I said, I was 19. And the reason that they did the surgery was because I had a lot, or I was sick a lot with my tonsils. And they were giving me a lot of antibiotics, and the doctor thought that if I kept on that route, I could have like rheumatic fever, and he just wanted to prevent that. And so at that time, I lived with my grandma, and I had lived with my grandparents since I was very small or very little. My mother, for some reason, left me with my grandparents, and so I was raised by them. And so at this point, my grandfather had passed away or has gone to heaven, and I live with my grandma. To make this long story short, at one point I bled again at 13 days, right? So I had bled at 7. They took me to the doctor, then I bled at the 13-day mark, and my mother had gone to see me. And the reason was because I wasn't eating, right? I felt really bad and I just couldn't swallow. It was really hard for me. And I had followed doctor's instructions. I mean, I wasn't a baby, you know, so I could follow instructions a little bit better, or at least I hope I did. And so she gave me, I remember, mashed potatoes, and I put the spoon in my mouth, and when I took the spoon out, it came covered in blood. So my mom got really scared, and she said, we're gonna take you with another doctor. And of course, she's my mom, right? So I was gonna do whatever she said. So I went to another doctor. They kept me in the emergency room, and I told the nurse, I remember I told the nurse I had to vomit. I needed to vomit, and she was like, no, wait, let me bring you something. And I saw a sink, and I went and vomited in the sink. And it was a lot of clots and a lot of blood, and we got a little bit scared, and they called the doctor. The doctor checked on me, and he said that I had an artery bleeding and I needed to go to the OR immediately, and yada yada yada. I wasn't very happy, to be honest with you guys, because as I was young, the doctor that saw me was very young. And I thought, this doctor is going to do surgery on me? I don't think so. But he said it's an emergency surgery and I have to take you to the OR. And, well, I was just like, okay, you know, and here we go. So as I entered the OR, I saw something that it was, I don't know, strange, you could call it. I don't know, however you want to call it. But I saw a lady dressed in dark colors, mostly black. She had a rosary in her hand, and you could see, you know, like kind of in her hand when you do like loops. And she told me everything was gonna be okay. And I thought it was strange. To be honest with you, I thought it's my imagination. I don't know what's happening. You know, I just felt really, really bad. To be honest with you, I felt like I was gonna die right there and there. I was just like exhausted, and I felt really, really bad and really tired. And so when I got to the OR, the good thing, and I think that's what gave me a little bit of peace, was that I saw the professor for anesthesia. It was my anesthesiologist for that surgery. Thank you, Jesus Lord. So I went to get that repair, and I told him that I felt like I was gonna die. Please don't let me die. And he said, of course I'm not gonna let you die, I promise you. And I said, please promise me. And he said, I promise you. The next thing that I remember seeing myself from above, and I felt really, really light. I felt like I seen my life pass by, like when I was a baby until my age. And then I felt like very light, like this dark place, like if you were falling down. And I remember seeing the doctor doing compressions on my chest, and then I don't remember anything. And then again, the same thing happened. I remember myself going like really into this dark, like deep hole when you're like asleep and you just feel like you're falling and you feel very light. That's how I felt. And I saw again my life pass by. The third time that this happened, it was really different, because I felt like I was falling down again, very light, and I felt my life pass by. But then I saw a very bright light, and I saw this long line of people with a big fence that it was like kind of gold color, but it felt like gold. Like you could see the sun shine through, and you could just see light. It was beautiful. And then I turned to my right, and I saw this wooden door, like an old wooden door with a lot of flowers, beautiful flowers that I had never seen before. And I felt when somebody called you and this is the door that you need to come in. And I went into that door, and the first person that I saw, that it was the best moment of my life, was my grandfather. He was there standing tall, handsome, like I remember him, with those eyes that could show his love for me. And the only thing that I could tell you is this place had like benches, like when you see it in a, like when you go to the judge or I don't know, a church, like, you know, this benches, like, and he was in the middle, and he was holding with his hand a little girl around like 3.5 years old. And I was like, who is this? I was intrigued, right? And so I hugged them, he hugged me, and the first thing that I asked was like, who's this little girl? And he told me, well, this is your sister. She died before you were born, and she's here to say hi, and her name is Liliana. And I saw her, I said hi, she said hi, and I was like, okay. I didn't know I had a sister, right? Nobody had told me. So I kept on walking, and he held my hand, and we kept on walking together. And then this door opened, and remember that light that I told you that I saw? It was again this shine light, but then it was the most wonderful place that I had seen in my life. It was so beautiful. He took me to a big tree where there's a lot of birds and butterflies, and this tree has flowers that I have never seen here on earth before, but I've seen in heaven several times. But anyway, we walked and we talked, and you know, I saw this river with clear water that you could see your face, and it was so magical, and so I didn't want to leave. to be honest with you guys. But I think my grandfather really died. It wasn't my time, and he let go of my hand. I was so mad at him. I was really, really upset. And when I woke up, I went to this surgery around 8 o'clock, 8:15 in the morning, and I woke up and it was dark outside of the room. I was in the ICU and I was intubated, and it's the worst feeling in your life. I understand people that are intubated because it's bad. It's like trying to breathe to a straw. And it's really, really bad just because you're trying to breathe and you're trying to like fight something. And try it. If you have never tried it, close your nose and try to breathe to a straw. That's how it feels, if you ever want to feel that sensation. I mean, I don't recommend it, but just in case you want to do that. And I remember I woke up and the first thing that I wanted to do was to take that tube out of my mouth. And of course the anesthesiologist was next to my bed and he said, no, you scare me, do not even touch that tube, you know, you were really sick, you scare me, you almost die on me, and no. And so I didn't, right? They extubate me a couple hours later, and in the morning next day they sent me to a room, a regular room. You know, everything looked fine in my throat. I didn't have anything there bleeding or nothing, and so I thought, okay, so I'm good, right? So remember that lady that I told you I saw in the OR? I saw her again in my room, and she came in and she said she wanted to pray with me, which I agree. You know, I didn't know who this lady was, but I said, sure, let's pray. Well, my mom was in the room with me, and she said, who are you talking to? And I said, Mom, don't be disrespectful, say hi to the lady, right? Say, good morning, how are you? And so she was like, I don't know who you're talking to. I can't see anybody. What is wrong with you? And so I ignored her because I was like, okay, she's probably upset, or I don't know what's wrong with her. And to be honest with you, I didn't have that mother-daughter bond, and I saw her more like, or I seen her more like an aunt. And I don't know if it makes sense. So at that time, I didn't want to fight something or argue anything. So I just said, okay, I think it's fine. You know, I just prayed with the lady and she could think that I'm praying by myself, whatever. So I prayed, I went home, and a lot of things started happening because I started seeing people that for me, they looked like they were alive, right? Started seeing people asking for favors, tell her family this, tell her family that, and I was a little bit confused. I felt really, really bad, but at the same token, I wanted to help because I want them to close that circle and close that cycle, right? And I thought I could do this, like I could help, right? But I didn't know what I was seeing. To be honest with you, I didn't know what was happening. So my mother got really annoyed and aggravated, I should say, because then I told her, when she told me, what is happening with you? And I told her, well, I saw my grandfather and I was so happy. And she didn't think it was fun, right? And she didn't think it was right. And then when I told her I had seen my sister, she was really upset. She told me, who told you you had a sister? I don't know who's doing this to you. It doesn't matter. Your sister is dead and you shouldn't have known, and you shouldn't have ever known this, and what is wrong with you? And she got really, really mad, and she's like, yeah, you saw your sister? And I said, yeah, my sister's name was Liliana. And I told her she had a dress, a white dress with pink flowers, and I told her everything that I had seen. And she's got out a picture and she showed it to me, and I said, oh, that's Liliana, that's my sister. And she was like, nobody should have told you this. I don't know who's telling you this, and it doesn't matter. She's like, I'm gonna take you back to your grandma. And sure enough, I went back to my grandma, right? So when that happened, I just assumed, right, that something was happening with me. But my mom did not let it go, of course. She took me to psychiatrists, she took me to different people, different psychologists. They test me, I don't know. I don't even know how to tell you guys that it was not okay. But the last thing that she did, she took me to the psych hospital in Chihuahua, and she was hoping for them to get me in there and cure me what she think something was happening with me, right? So to make this story a little bit shorter, I went in and he said, your mother tells me that you see dead people. And I was like, yeah, because I wasn't gonna lie. That's what I was seeing, so why was I gonna say no, right? And so he made me the same boring test. Like, it's like playing chess, right? Or playing checkers. You learn the moves and you just do the test. And when I was there with him, there was a gentleman that came to the side, or stand to the side of him, and he said, I am his dad, and I want you to tell him what happened so he could believe in you. And I said, okay. And so he made me the question again, oh, so you see dead people? And I said, yes. And you know, he was going on and on and on and on. And so I said, by the way, your father is here and it's next to you. And I described his father, right? Like I was seeing the man. So I described him. And then he said, oh, okay. And you could see that he had like those tears on his eyes. But of course, he's a doctor and a psychiatrist. Why will he believe in me? Why would he do that? Like, what was the point, right? So then the next thing was that this gentleman told me that his mom had gotten really upset when he was 11. He brought his wife, or the mom of this doctor, like a flower vase, really big, that he brought from China for her. And it was very special. It was, I guess, expensive, right? But he was playing, running around, and he pushed it, and it went to the floor, and it broke in pieces. So when this happened, the dad tried to help him and said, well, let's do this, and let's try to figure this out, and let's tell your mom that this and this happened, right? It was a secret between them that then he later told his mom that that's not what really happened, that he was running around and all this. And so this doctor just looked at me, and his eyes had like tears in it, and he was just like, you know what? You are very depressed. I'm gonna give you a prescription, and then you could go home with your mom. So he gave me the prescription, and he sent me home. My mom was really upset because her intention was like, well, she needs to be in the hospital. Like, this is not normal. And so she told me, I'm gonna take you back to your grandma. I don't want to have problems with this. I don't want to, no. And so he took me back to my grandma, and I needed to go back to school and continue my life, right, as I was supposed to be normal. Well, things started happening more and more often. People started asking me to help and to kind of be an intersection with, like talk to my family, tell them this, tell them that. And I thought, okay, I could do this. There were people that would close the door on my face. There were people that believed me. There were people that didn't believe me. So it was really hard, and I started questioning. So you could imagine a 19-year-old going through all of this nonsense, right, and not knowing what was the purpose of what that she needed to do. And so I felt really, really bad, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna end with my life. Heaven was so beautiful. What am I doing here? What am I really doing here, where people don't like each other, where people talk back to each other, where people don't believe you, where all of this madness happens? And what am I doing here if heaven is so beautiful? Why? So I thought, I'm gonna get a knife, And I was already in nursing school, so I knew anatomy, so I knew how to do this right. And I'm just gonna put it in my chest, and that's it. That is the end of it. And so when I was about to put that knife and do that, I immediately, or not immediately, sorry for that. I immediately saw this light, and my angel dropped in front of me. That was the weirdest thing that has happened in my life, but the most beautiful thing that happened in my life. And I remember she got mad at me, and she was very upset at me, and she was like, what is wrong with you? God returned you to earth with all these gifts to help people, not to end your life and do anything. Then what was the purpose of you going to heaven? What was the purpose of you seeing dead people and trying to close the loops with their family? What is the point? And so she got really mad at me, and she gave me like a sermon. And so I understood right then and there that God had returned me back to help people. And I wrote a book in 2012 about my life and about a lot of people that I had helped. I had helped a lot of people in Spanish, because like I said, my book is in Spanish. And I have helped a lot of people. But this is the first time that I'm recording a video in Spanish and in English, because I do want to keep on helping people. But it's overwhelming because you don't know exactly who to help next. And so I decided to do a webpage. And in that webpage, I will do a raffle. So it asks you for some data about the person that you lost and the person that you want me to go and talk to them and bring you back information from them. And so you could close that loop. I know that is difficult when you lose someone, because they're not here. And even though I could see the ones that I have lost, it's not the same. And I understand that. But I also understand that they're happy in heaven. And I have only seen heaven and the purgatory. But heaven is real, and it's beautiful, and it's wonderful, and is the life after this one. And I believe 100%. I believe in God because I seen him, and I believe in Jesus because I seen him. But at the same token, I want you to look through my eyes and see what I see through my words. And I do want you to close that loop with your family member, or with that person that had left you or have gone to heaven before you, and that you have that closure that you might need. In that webpage, I am going to do a raffle, and whoever gets selected, I will contact their loved one, and I will bring back something so you can look through my eyes and see what I see, like I said, and know that they're doing okay, or what is happening with them. I will bring you that answer that you have looked for. And I'm gonna try to do a podcast and some videos, so I could read my book with the same emotions that I wrote it in Spanish, and I could read it in English, so you could kind of have a feeling of what I had seen and how the people, or the stories that were given to me, right? And you could listen to them in English, which is gonna be really cool, I promise you. But yes, follow me. Let's have this hope and this new looking at heaven to see how you feel, and the questions that you have, anything that I could answer. And I promise you it's gonna be an adventure. And please watch my videos, my social, all my social, so sorry, all my Instagram and my YouTube and everything is going to be linked, and my webpage is going to be linked. So please join me. Next week I will start with the first taking out numbers of people and register, so you can have the opportunity to know about your loved ones. God bless you, and I see you very soon. Love you. Bye.